Every high converting TikTok ad I found over the past 30 days had one thing in common. They all follow the exact same structure, which I'll be breaking down today, so you can apply it and increase your conversion rates. So to collect data, I studied the top performing e-commerce ads on today's market. And to identify top performing, I looked at two key metrics: click-through rate and conversion rates. Specifically the ads that beat out every other video in both metrics over that period of time. And after synthesizing everything that I found, the same pattern kept showing up across every single winning ad. A 6-layer repeatable conversion stack. It starts with a hook, then credibility, desire intensification, mechanization, objection handling, and a call to action, all in that order. Now, there were a variety of unique, highly effective hooks during my analysis, so I've picked out some of the most popular ones. First, we have the mirroring hook. Let's look at these examples. After having my baby, I was surviving on broken sleep, toast crust, and willpower. When a mom hears that, she doesn't just relate to it, she feels seen, and that's the difference. Relatability is I understand you. Feeling seen is this person is me. That's a much stronger emotional trigger which captures attention. And notice how specific it is. It doesn't just say being a new mom is exhausting. It says broken sleep, toast crust, and willpower. Those three details paint an exact picture of a specific kind of exhaustion and contains references only moms will understand. Let's look at some of these other examples. I'm a 2026 bride in the middle of a million decisions. Bro, I was dropping $80 a month on supplements. So to write this hook, you have to ask yourself, what identity is my customer living right now? How are they feeling, struggling with, or doing precisely? The more specific you are, the stronger the mirror. Another one I want to highlight is the before you know that hook. For example, before you go and bleach your underarms, let me give you the biggest hack. This hook calls out a very specific user, specifically someone who is thinking about bleaching their underarms, then presents them with a better alternative or with new information that they should know before carrying out their intended action. This is extremely powerful because before you implies that they are about to make a mistake, which triggers loss aversion, and nobody wants to do something that they regret. Now let's talk about credibility. This first method of building it is really interesting. Specifically, it is about how the best ads today build credibility before the user or before the viewer even realizes that they are watching an ad. Here's the thing. Promises don't work the way that they used to. We're in a market so saturated with e-commerce products that viewers have been burned enough times to be deeply skeptical. Things like, best product ever, changed my life, and you need this. These claims are so overused that the sophisticated viewer filters them out automatically. So what are the best ads doing instead? They're not leading with promises. They're embedding credibility signals directly into the hook itself. The hook is no longer just doing one job, it's doing two. Stopping the scroll and immediately making the viewer think that this person knows what they are talking about. The first way this is done is with identity mirroring, which is incorporated in the mirroring hook we just covered. In this example, bro, I was dropping $80 a month on supplements, and I was still getting sick, still bloated, still crashing by 2 p.m. every single day. That level of specificity is itself a credibility signal. Anyone can say taking 17 supplements don't work. Only someone who has actually lived it says crashing by 2 p.m. every single day. The detail is in the proof. And the viewer doesn't just consciously think this person is credible. They feel it because the mirror is too accurate to be faked. And this exploits the affinity bias, which is the unconscious tendency for people to favor and feel more comfortable around those who share similar backgrounds, interests, or traits. The viewer's brain registers the creator as someone familiar, and that collapses the trust barrier almost instantly. Most ads try to build trust through credentials, using words like I'm a dermatologist, clinically proven, and that works, but it creates a different dynamic. It positions the creator above the viewer, while the identity mirror does the opposite. It puts the creator beside the viewer, and on TikTok, people trust peers faster than they trust experts. This next effective method is novel information. Ice helps loosen the grime, and speeds up the reaction. This is the first thing a mother's body produces after birth. These lines build credibility because it is something the viewer didn't know before watching your video. And when someone tells you something true that you've never heard before, your brain immediately categorizes them as an authority because they know more than you. So when the product recommendation comes, you're already primed to trust it. So once you've built trust and the viewer believes your product does what you say it does, your next job is to make them want it badly enough to actually do something about it. Here are the 3 desire intensification techniques that I found most effective. The first is to constantly restate the promise in first person. For example, it literally has my skin looking so smooth and clear. Or, I truly noticed the improvement in my gut health. This sounds simple, but the mechanism is deliberate. First person repetition keeps the result feeling like a lived experience rather than a marketing claim. And in today's market, the sophisticated viewer immediately identifies and dismisses old marketing claims. Every time the creator says, I noticed, I felt, I saw, the promise gets emphasized. And by the end of the video, the viewer has heard this result so many times through someone else's experience that it starts to feel inevitable. Now, the second technique is to share a personal concern after you've established the identity mirror. I was really worried about crafting the perfect invitation because they really are the first glimpse into the whole vision. Here's what makes this powerful. Once the viewer sees the creator as someone living their exact life, the creator's concerns become their concerns. The worry gets transferred. The viewer walks away feeling an urgency they didn't have before they started watching, because someone they identify with just told them this is something worth worrying about. When the bride hears this line, she's thinking about her own wedding invitation plans, how little she has thought about it, and now she's considering improving it because it's the first glimpse into the whole vision. Now, the third technique is the I wish technique. So for example, wish I had used these sooner, or honestly, I wish I started sooner, or something like I wish someone told me. The creator is telling the viewer their own regret. The viewer now has the information that the creator didn't have before when they were in the same position. And nobody wants to be the person who had all the information and still waited, only to possibly live out the same regret, which triggers loss aversion. The regret has already been lived by someone else, so the rational move now is to take action. This is the layer that separates the highest converting ads from everything else, and it's the one that I see being skipped most often. Here's the problem. Most e-commerce products exist in saturated markets. Your viewer has already tried 3 versions of your product. They've been promised the same result by 10 different brands. So even if your hook stops the scroll, your credibility lands, and your desire intensification is working, there's still a voice in the back of their head saying, why would this one be any different? And for that, mechanization is your answer to that question. It's not about making a bigger claim, it's about showing the viewer the specific reason your product achieves the result it promises. And we're talking about the ingredients, the technology, the system, the design, concrete things that make it the right tool for the job in a way that nothing else does. Look at this example. It has a double-sided design. One side breaks through stubborn mats and knots, while the other side removes loose undercoat and shedding fur with our advanced patented blade designs. The viewer already knows that they have a shedding problem, and they've probably already bought a brush. But now they understand exactly why this brush does something that their current one cannot. The mechanism closes the gap between another product making the same promise and the specific solution to my specific problem. I'll take this one. This serum contains both retinol and retinol, so it works faster and deeper. It's one sentence, but it tells the viewer exactly what makes this serum different from the 12 other serums they've already scrolled past today. The mechanism is the differentiator. Now here's where it gets interesting. Mechanization doesn't always mean ingredients or technology. Let's take a look at what this company Minter did. Their mechanism is a tactile experience. The pillowy border, the crisp painting, details you can only appreciate by holding the physical product in your hand. So they engineered their entire creative around the physical characteristics of their cards. The creator isn't just describing the card, she's analyzing it in real time, running her fingers through the texture, holding it up to the light, and then stressing the importance for the viewer to feel it for themselves. Why? Because it separates Minted from all the other generic invitation cards. So they are offering free samples to be sent to interested buyers. And Minted knows that these samples are likely to convert to paying customers. Mechanization isn't a formula. It's the answer to one question. What is the specific reason my product delivers the results I promised? Find that answer and put it in your ad. That's what the highest converting ads do, that the rest don't. Moving on. Out of everything I analyzed, objection handling was the layer that showed up the least. And I think that's actually an important finding in itself. In short form ads, you don't need to dismantle every doubt your viewer has. You mostly have to build credibility, intensify desire, and explain your mechanism. Objections can be dismantled elsewhere, such as maybe your product page. But there are always one or two stubborn ones. The doubts so deeply ingrained in your target viewer that they'll quietly kill your purchase even after everything else has landed. Those ones need to be addressed. And here's what's interesting though. The best ads never look like they are handling objections at all. Look at this example. No electricity, no gas, no heavy machine to drag around. So it's perfect for blasting dirt off your car, your yard, and your driveway. That sounds like a feature list, but what it's doing is preemptively killing the 3 biggest reasons someone wouldn't buy a pressure washer. It's too complicated, too expensive to run, too much of a hassle to move around. Every single friction point neutralized before the viewer even thinks about it. Or this one. The capsule sizes are not particularly big, so you know there's no crappy fillers or anything like that. That sounds like a product detail, but it's quietly addressing the skepticism every supplement buyer carries. What is actually inside this thing? The creator doesn't say, I know you're worried about the ingredients. She just describes the capsule size and lets the viewer connect the dots themselves. That's the craft. The best objection handling is disguised as enthusiasm. It never feels defensive because it never announces itself as a rebuttal. The last layer is the call to action. And this is one where I see the biggest difference between current converting TikTok ads from traditional ads. The old playbook was simple, and with a direct, very clear command. Click the link, visit us now, link in bio, and for a long time that worked. But we are in a market where viewers have seen enough ads to recognize the pattern. The moment a command like this hits, the brain gets reminded about all the ads it has seen before, and the trust you spent the entire video building collapses at exactly the wrong moment. So what are the best ads doing right now? They're maintaining the same conversational tone all the way to the end. The CTA doesn't announce itself as a CTA. It feels like a natural conclusion of a recommendation from someone who genuinely has your best interests in mind. The first way I saw this done is with the if-then CTA. But if you want clear, smooth skin by summer, you need to use this now. Notice what's happening here. The creator isn't telling you to buy, she's reminding you of what you already told her you wanted, and framing the action as the only logical response to that want. The urgency is real, that's the timeline, and there's a consequence for waiting. But it never feels like a push, it feels like advice. The second is what I call the convenient CTA. You can find the Dr. Different products on Amazon, which is so convenient. On the surface, it sounds like a throwaway product detail, but it's doing something deliberate. Instead of directing the viewer to take action, it's framing the purchase channel as a benefit to them. So convenient isn't a directive, it's a reassurance. The viewer doesn't feel sold to, they feel like a friend just made their life easier by telling them exactly where to go. The through line across both is the same. The best CTAs today don't feel like CTAs, they feel like the last piece of genuine advice from someone who has been talking with you, not at you. Now before I wrap up, there's one thing that sits above everything I went through, and it's the most important observation across 30 days of ads. Every single high converting ad I found looked nothing like a traditional ad. Not one of them opened with a logo, not one of them had a polished voiceover or a branded intro. Every single one was a regular person talking to a camera, sharing something they genuinely cared about. And here's why that matters for everything I just walked you through. The hook works because it sounds like someone starting a genuine conversation. The identity mirror works because it feels like a real person sharing their life. The credibility techniques work because they're woven into natural storytelling rather than announced as proof points. The desire intensification works because it reads like enthusiasm, not salesmanship. The mechanization works because it sounds like someone who genuinely loves a product explaining why. And the CTA works because it never breaks the illusion. The best performing TikTok ads were the ones that felt like organic TikTok content. If you've made it this far, the video should have given you at least a few ideas on how to improve or write your next winning TikTok ad. Every hook type, every credibility signal, every desire technique, every CTA, you can take this and audit your current ads today.